Okay, so once you get into custody, they do the full rundown. What evidence did they have against you?
Well, they didn't have any initially. And so for about 6 weeks, the police would meet with me 2 or 3 times a week. And, um, my interactions with them always had the dynamic that half the time they would talk to me as if I was a suspect, and the other half the time they would pretend like they needed my help to solve the crime. So they would say things like, kids won't talk freely around us, but they will around you. Let us know if you
Okay.
hear anything. They asked me opinion questions, congratulate me that my opinion was correct. Before I was a teenager, I used to think about being a cop when I grew up. So that played into that whole false narrative. And then they did the good cop, bad cop routine. And I began to look up to the officer who was pretending to be my friend as a father figure. And eventually they got me to agree to take a polygraph. They told me that some new information had come into the police file and they wanted to share that with me. And that would allow me to be more helpful to them. But first, though, I had to take and pass a polygraph. So the next day, instead of going to the school, I went to the police station. My mother and grandmother thought I was in school, so they didn't call around for me. I had no attorney present. They didn't give me anything to eat. They gave me a brochure explaining how the polygraph worked, but then I didn't understand what it really meant. I had a lot of big words, but I figured, well, I'm there to help the police, so what does it matter? Let's just get on with it. Then they put me in a small room. And again, they haven't given me anything to eat the whole time I'm there. There is no attorney.
Right.
And then he gives me countless cups of coffee to get me nervous. And then he launches into his third degree tactics. So he raised his voice at me. He invaded my personal space. He kept asking me the same questions over and over again. And he kept that
Now
up
hold
for
on,
six.
Jeff. Let me
Yeah.
cut you off right there.
Hmm.
At this time, you're 17 years old,
Yeah, I'm 16.
16 at this time.
Hmm.
They're feeding you coffee, getting your nerves up. They're trying to get you nervous,
Yes,
trying to get you to admit something that you didn't do. They're scaring you in the corner, pretty much, correct?
correct.
Mm. Keep on, man. I didn't mean to
No, whenever you want to break in
interrupt
and
you.
clarify something or ask further questions, that do that by all means. Don't hesitate. So
Got you.
yeah, so from there, so he kept that up for 6.5 to 7 hours.
Okay.
And then towards the end, and each hour that goes by, my fear is increasing in proportion to the time. And then finally, the cop who he leaves the room, and the cop who had been pretending to be my friend, he came in the room and he asked me. He came in the room and told me rather. He said the other officers are going to harm you. I've been holding them off. I can't do this any longer. You have to help yourself. Look, just tell them what they want to hear. You go home afterwards. You're not going to be arrested. Being young, naive, frightened, just 16, I wasn't thinking about the long term. I was only concerned with my safety in the moment. I was in fear of my life. The fact that I didn't know where I was and that no one else knew where I was either loomed very large in my mind. I was overwhelmed emotionally and psychologically. And then he's conveyed this threat. He's given me this false promise. So I made a decision to just make up a story based on the information that they gave me in the course of the interrogation that day and in the 6 weeks run up to it. By the time everything was said and done, I collapsed on the floor into a fetal position, crying uncontrollably. And obviously, I was arrested. I was charged with a murder and rape.
So they hit you with the good cop, bad cop situation.
Yes,
They wanted to scare you into a corner, which it worked because, like you said, you ended up falling out on the floor crying. You don't know what your future holds. You're not even thinking about the future. You're just trying to ensure your safety right now.
right. Yes,
And
you got it.
you were put in a situation like a lot of people. I have a best friend. His name is Mike as well. He's in jail right now, serving 25 years. And I'm pretty sure they pulled that same type of deal on him. He was around that same age. We were teenagers. I'm not going to go into details about his story, but like him, like you, and many other people, like what the Central Park Five, I think they what they were
That's
called.
right. Yes.
They scare you into an admission of guilt, an admission of something that you didn't do, or you might have partially done something wrong, but not the crime that they they think that you're doing or that they're accusing you of doing, and it's wrong. So, okay, they scare you into an admission of guilt. You serve 16 years in prison.